This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Baruch Mabam. We're up to Siman Ayin Vav Sif Ches. Siman Ayin Vav Sif Ches. Kara b'makam sharoi lestapik b'tzaya u'matzah acharkach. Let's say you said the Kriya Shema in a place that you should have had a reasonable possibility that there was soya there. You said the Shema in a makom where there's often soya, and you didn't check. But after you said the Shema, you found there indeed was soya. So you have to say the Shema again. If there was no reason to suspect there was soya there, you do not have to repeat the Shema. Which is very interesting, which means the din is not dependent on the reality of there being soya there. Rather, the din is dependent on whether you did your due diligence. That when you did not do your due diligence, now, in a case where you should have been masupik, there was soya, and you didn't do your due diligence, and there was not soya, you do not have to repeat the Shema. So it's not, the din is not only dependent on you doing your due diligence, it's a combination of, you have to do your due diligence, and if you didn't, and there was soya, you would have to repeat the Shema. When it comes to urine, even if you find it in a place that you should have been masupik, you do not have to go and repeat the Shema. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkatan Chavches b'makam sharoi, dahainu b'makam shematzoi sham ketanim. Let's say in a place where there are a lot of kids around. Now, we need some Israeli help over here. The Dirshu says, Uktanim halavushim bechitul. Kids wearing a chitul.
Diaper.
Hamper, right?
Diaper, yeah.
Okay, so if a kid is wearing a diaper and you don't smell it, Reb Chaim Kanievsky says it could be it's considered covered. The thing is, the Hamevin Yavin, that you be wearing two diapers. You're going to smell it. That's, fine. Says the Mishnah Berurah, b'makam sharoi, okay, chavtes, u'matzah acharkach. Now it's talking about where you found it, b'toich daled amos, within daled amos. The nimtzeis chutz daled amos, if you found it out of the daled amos, b'soich shiur kamloi einav, within the shiur of the amount that you're able to see, ayin lekamon, siman pei aleph, sif beis, of Mishnah Berurah sham. So in other words, what would the halacha be if you found it out of the daled amos? There the Mishnah Berurah writes, it's a machloikes if you didn't have to check. B'di'eved ein lahachmer. The conclusion of the Mishnah Berurah is b'di'eved ein lahachmer. Tzarach lachzar, says the Mishnah Berurah. Why? Why do you have to go back? It is zavach risha'im toyeva. The offering of the wicked is an abomination. Dahavale livdoi kamakum. You should have checked. Which is interesting. That means if someone should have checked and they didn't check, they're called a rasha. Not good to be a rasha. It's not good for your dental work to be a rasha. Rav Moshe explains that if you find soya after you daven in a place that you didn't need to be masupik, it's not a chet. So the chet is not, this is what we were medayik, it's not because you daven there, it's because the chet, listen to this, is not because you daven in a place that there's soya, it's rather you put yourself in a situation where the Yetzer Hara will be makatrig on the tefillah, and since the tefillah will not be accepted because it's a zevach of a rasha, memela, it's like you didn't daven. So the sin is you caused your tefillah not to be accepted, and therefore it's not a tefillah. The Mishnah Berurah continues, Parsha du'adinam la'achar tefillah matzah shahayu begadav minalav metunaf. The same thing would be if after davening you found your clothing or your shoes were dirty, and and you know that they became dirty because before the davening you were in a dirty spot. Kagoyin beis hakise, you're in a bathroom. Muchahagavna b'makam hashvata, so we're in a garbage area. V'lo shamar outside liyas naki b'tzeis misham. You did not guard yourself to be clean when you left. The tzarach lachzar, you have to go back. The pasha, you were negligent. You would have to repeat the Shema. Let's say you were at night in a place that there was the tzaya of a cat. You davened in the shul, but shuva when you got home, matzah, you found shatin of davik babeged, that the filth clung to your clothing. Ein sarach lafsel gosos balel. You don't have to daven again. Why? It's like you were in a place where you did not have a reasonable expectation to check yourself. You had no reason to believe that there was a cat there, and therefore there was no obligation to check to make sure your clothing was clean. Now, when we say if you found tzaya in a makam where you should have expected there to be tzaya, you have to go back and say the Shema. Do you have to go back and say the brachos? Says the Mishnah Berurah, "V'likrois im ha-brachos," with the brachos. So this is very interesting, because someone who said brachos kriya Shema, and he found tzaya opposite him, the Be'er Halacha said earlier, you don't have to go back and say the brachos kriya Shema. In other words, let's say all you did was say brachos kriya Shema, and there was tzaya opposite you, and you should have checked. You do not have to go back and say brachos kriya Shema. But here, because you have to go back and say the Shema, thereby the Shema goes along with the brachos kriya Shema. Okay. If you benched or other brachos, ayin lekaman Seif Siman kuf pei u'mashe kasavna Mishnah Berurah sham maskanas ha'achronim b'inyan zeh. What would the halacha be regarding brachos hamazon? Im kishehishlam tfilasai umatzat tzaya avar zman tfila. What if by the time you finish davening and you found that tzaya, the zman tfila is over? Do you have to make up that tfila? No, we don't give you the opportunity to make up. We only have to make up your tefillah if you are an oines, not if you're a paisheya, not if you're zavach risham tayeba. There's no way to make up the tefillah. So what do? No way to fix it.
What if you did Shnaya Mikra, then you discovered there was tzaya? But you mentioned brachos. The brachos b'diavad is not good. So what about limud Torah? In a way, it's a chiyuv.
So we have to see Siman kuf pei. That's what he said. In berach brachas hamazon ushar brachos ayin lekaman Seif Siman kuf pei. What does he say there? I only have the chilek aleph in front of me. The end of Siman kuf pei. By the way, what's interesting is this din that you have to go back and say Shema. Is it a din d'oraisa or is it a din d'rabbanan? This is very interesting. What would you say? The din that if you should have checked and you didn't check, and it turns out that there was tzaya, is it a din d'oraisa or is it a din d'rabbanan? The Be'er Halacha says that in the Pri Megadim and the Nishmas Adam, they're masupik if it's midoraisa or midrabbanan, and in the end they are inclined to say that it's only midrabbanan. Midoraisa b'diavad yatsa. Now, what if you're in a jail and there's a tzaya there? They have a pit of tzaya in the dungeon. What should you do? Should you not daven at all, or should you daven? Because those are the two possibilities. Either you daven or you don't daven. The halacha is you cannot daven, but you're going to be there for a long time. Better not to daven. Actually, those tefillos that you're not davening might be the most powerful tefillos of your whole life, because you wish you could daven, but you can't daven. So all the other tefillos you offered, it was 99% without any kavana. Finally, once in your life, you'll be zeicha to have a complete tefillah. Okay. You know the famous story with Reb Zusha. Reb Zusha and his brother, they were in some kind of jail, and there was a avit shomei raglayim, a bit of tsoya, and they weren't able to daven, and they were ba'atzvas, and then they realized this is the ratzon of Hashem, and chishev lasos mitzvah, so they started to dance. So the warden asked, "Why are you dancing?" They said, "Because there's a tsoya here." So the warden came and said, "No, he took out the tsoya. You're not gonna dance on my cheshbon, you know." So, okay. Ein sarach lachzar. If you had no reason to suspect, then you don't have to go back to honest habit. To my have a little bit. You're honest. What were you supposed to do? You had no reason to suspect. Ein sarach lachzar v'likrois by meiraglayim even b'makom sharoy l'stapik. Da'afilu lechatchila hayamutar likrois kol kama shelo yada. Even lechatchila, you are allowed to read so long as you didn't know b'chanal b'siv zayin. Right? Because we saw in Siv Zayin, Safek meiraglayim afilu ba'ashba mutter. Safek meiraglayim. In other words, you're a mesupik if there's urine there, even though probably there is, you're allowed to. Why? Because there is no Isser, Dairaisa, to read opposite sitting meiraglayim, only connected Amad Shal Kiluach. Okay. Let's say somebody knew there was urine there. The avar b'kara, and they violated, and they read, then they would have to go back. Why? The avar al vadai d'Rabbanan. They're over on a vadai d'Rabbanan. By the way, the Dirshu brings that later on. The Bir Halacha brings a machlokes about this. V'ayin ken kaz b'rim gam v'ayin chayim kal gimel din lamed gimel v'ayin lekaman b'siman coffee the Bir Halacha. Okay, this will be our first session.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.